Hi, I'm Matthew with Peoria Adventist, and we are talking about how the 8th commandment can help us to be wise. So let's talk about Aladdin. You shall not steal. Seems like a really simple commandment. I mean, it's just 4 simple words, or just 2 in Hebrew. So what could this simple and very obvious commandment have to say to us? How does it challenge and inspire us? How do we even apply this thing? Well, very simply, stop sharing your Netflix password with your girlfriend. You know who you are, sitting there, tugging at the moral fabric of the universe like a cat. Anyways, when you look deeper, you find this commandment raises some interesting questions. I mean, is this a universal, categorical ban on all stealing or just some kinds of stealing? Now, you may think all stealing, but the ancient Jewish commentators in the Talmud saw this as a ban on stealing people because the penalty for breaking all the other commandments was death. So it seems strange to them that breaking all of these commandments were capital crimes except this one, because most of the time in the law of Moses, stealing something usually means you just have to pay a fine. You have to pay more, a multiple of what you stole. So the only time stealing would get you the death penalty was if the thing you stole wasn't a thing, if you had kidnapped someone. So these rabbis saw this commandment as a ban on kidnapping. And then we have Aladdin. I mean, what do we do with Aladdin? Do you remember the song? Gotta keep one jump ahead of the bread line. Okay, I'm not going to sing anymore because Disney will sue me. I love you, Disney. Please don't sue me. Anyway, the point with Aladdin is that he only steals what he can't afford, which happens to be everything. And Aladdin reminds me of this proverb. People do not despise a thief when he steals to fulfill his need when he is hungry. Yet, when he is caught, he must repay 7 times over. It's almost as if Solomon is saying, yeah, people get it when someone steals in order to survive, but if the thief gets caught, he's got to do the time, you know? So Solomon kind of has a point, because let me give you 2 examples. Exhibit A, the most prolific serial killer in American history, confessed to killing 71 people, though he probably killed more. And when we hear this guy's story, you have no problem saying, lock that dude up. It repulses us. It disgusts us. But Exhibit B is this Indian man named Natwarlal, which I probably just totally butchered. I'm sorry. But this guy was trained as a lawyer before he became a con man. And some of you will doubt that he ever changed careers. Anyways, this guy pretended to be a government official and actually sold the Taj Mahal to tourists 3 times. He sold the Parliament building once and even charged for the members of Parliament inside. He was arrested 8 times and escaped every single time. In fact, his last escape was in 1996 when he was 84 years old and in a wheelchair. He then had his brother fake his death. His village built a statue of him. And how do we feel about him when you read his story? I mean, he's a thief, he's a con artist, but there's something charming about his boldness, about his daring, about his feats. And of course, he didn't kill a bunch of people, right? But he ruined plenty of people's lives. My point is just that we look at some forms of stealing differently than others. We're meant to be sympathetic to Aladdin's thievery. Robin Hood too, right? He's a thief, but he's kind of noble. Now, I'm mentioning these examples because we can't rightly interpret this commandment without checking our own emotional connection to it. Solomon understood that we have different emotional reactions to different kinds of theft. And in fact, the Bible recognizes, as we've said, different kinds of punishment for different kinds of theft. And there are, by the way, plenty of kinds of theft in the Bible. If you steal when you kidnap someone, you steal when you don't pay your workers on time, you steal when you use false measurements in the market, like when you pay by the pound, but you only get 0.9 pounds instead, which I think means that we should be able to sue everyone who makes a bag of chips, okay? You all know you're only filling it up 1/3 of the way, okay? Anyways, you steal when you move someone's boundary stones or their property lines. You steal when you don't give tithes in offerings because you are failing to return to God what is His. Okay, so whatever we do, we have to understand this commandment as a part of all of these other commands about stealing. In fact, stealing is so prevalent, Martin Luther once said, if we were to hang every thief, the world would soon be empty. And I think when you add all of that up, you have a pretty good picture of how God looks at stealing. And yet you have to balance that with Solomon's empathy for people in need. Jesus reminded us of this time when David was starving and ate the holy bread in the sanctuary, which was very much against the law, okay? Then Jesus said that the priests break Sabbath when they serve in the sanctuary. And to all of this, to both of these examples, Jesus added one line. He said, if you had known what this means, I want mercy and not sacrifice, you would not have condemned the innocent. There's the law. Then there's the spirit of the law. Stealing is still wrong, but we don't treat all kinds of stealing as the same. And that's the negative side of the law. The positive side of the law is actually really fascinating as well. The negative side is what a law bans. The positive side is what the law is trying to encourage, often silently. So the negative side of the law says don't take what doesn't belong to you. Then the positive side of the law says it's good to give what does belong to you. For instance, in Deuteronomy we read this command: if a fellow Israelite from one of your villages in the land that the Lord your God has given to you should be poor, you must not harden your heart or be insensitive to his impoverished condition. Instead, you must be sure to open your hand to him and generously lend him whatever he needs. Now, to truly keep this commandment, it's not enough to say, I don't steal. You cannot selfishly hoard wealth and demand that people don't steal from you. That's not how this was meant to work. Life isn't about taking and protecting what you have. Life is also about giving. Because we're often more afraid of being taken advantage of than we are concerned about helping people as God commands. There is this remarkable humanity and grace in these laws. I mean, if a poor man gave you his cloak as collateral for a loan that he needed, you were told that you had to bring his cloak back to him at sundown because a man's cloak was often also his blanket, and he was not to sleep cold as a result. So God wants us to build this generous society where there's no need to steal. The new world that God is making for us is described as a place where you get to enjoy the fruit of your work. An army won't destroy it. A fire won't destroy it. The government won't take it. A thief won't steal your minivan. And this new world works because people are so voluntarily generous with what they have that they make sure every Aladdin has enough food and clothing, reminding us that the best is yet to come. Hey, 3G, can I borrow your cable password? Because I really want to watch the Women's World Cup. Come on, I'll give you my Netflix password. It's going to be totally cool, and then you can just change your password and then I won't have it anymore, huh? What do you say? What do you mean I need to watch my video all over again? Ah, come on.